Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. The first thing I'm going to say, which I've just said in the other video that I filmed, is apologies for the quality and the lighting in this video. Unfortunately, I have not been blessed with nice bright weather today. It's very dull, dreary, overcast out there. It's raining, and yes, I did leave it a little bit late in the day to film as well, but I mean, when I cooked my breakfast this morning, I had to put the light on in the kitchen because it was just dull and overcast and dreary. So I don't think that would have made too much of a difference if I'd sat down first thing this morning and filmed this, but hey ho, there we go. So I'm sorry if the quality isn't great. I've had to put on extra lighting. Hopefully the quality in the next videos will be better. You just have to kind of bear with me through these kind of darker, drearier months because it is a little bit difficult when you don't have any fancy schmancy equipment or lighting. So I'm here today with a January TBR. Now, just a few caveats before I get started with that. I stopped setting myself monthly TBRs probably for the majority of last year. I just found them really restrictive and I didn't like feeling like I had to read certain books. And as soon as I put some pressure on having to read those said books, I just didn't want to read them and I wanted to read something else. So I'd either go into a slump or I'd end up reading something else completely that wasn't on my TBR and then feeling like a failure because I haven't read what I set out to read. So I do want to give myself a little bit of kind of guidance to my reading and keep a little bit of structure there to a degree, but I do still want to give myself enough ability and freedom to kind of mood read, and actually if I don't read them all, it's not the end of the world. So I've literally got 4 physical books here to talk about. These are kind of going to be my main focus for January, but there is one book that's being released on the 21st of January, which is going to be a priority for me when that comes out, and I have to do some prep work for it, which you will see and I'll talk about when I get to that. But the first book, which is actually the book that I've gone and got today as I'm filming this, it's the 1st of January. It's New Year's Day, so Happy New Year to you all. I finished my my last read yesterday on the 31st and didn't pick anything up physically and haven't really been reading anything physically because I was reading that on my Kindle, but I wanted to pick up a physical read today. As far as I've got is picking the book up and putting a putting a bookmark in the first page. This is I Am Rebel by Ross Montgomery, and this was the book of the year for Waterstones, the children's book of the year for Waterstones. My friend has recently read this and really enjoyed it, and then when I was in Waterstones, if you've watched my recent book haul, you'll know this, but when I was in there and I was saying, oh, this is this book that my friend Kaz was talking about, and the bookseller walked past me literally said, it's such a good book, you should really read it. I don't know an awful lot about this, but what I do know is that I believe you're the perspective of the dog and you're like from the dog's perspective. I'm Tom's dog and he's my boy, and if he's stepped right inside the jaws of death, then I'm going to follow him into them and bring him back out. Rebel is a good dog and he loves his simple, perfect life on the farm with his owner Tom, until one day the war comes too close. Now Tom is determined to join the rebellion to defeat the king's men, but Rebel knows war is dangerous and he will stop at nothing to save the human he loves. I just think this is going to be really, really lovely. I like the idea of reading something that's maybe a little bit more of an easy read because this is a children's book. So, I mean, the spacing of the writing looks really nice. I think this is going to be quite a quick read, but I think this is still going to pack a punch, and I think it's still going to be interesting, entertaining, and I think it's going to have some more interesting kind of themes running through it as well. So yeah, looking forward to reading this one. The next book on the list is actually one that I am technically already started on and have made progress on, and that is Into the Wilderness by Sara Donati. This is the first book in a series, a big series, which I never finished. So this one is a reread for me. I think I got 3 or 4 books into the series. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head how many there are in total. Let's find out. Let's get to my Goodreads up and see. But what I did was I got however many through and then didn't finish, and felt like I'd left it too long before I then revisited the series, and I was like, I can't pick up the books now from where I am. So it's a 6-book series. And yeah, I got 4 books deep into the series. How annoying. I got so close. So what I want to do is I want to read these again, fall back in love with this world, and then continue the rest of the series throughout the year and actually get the series finished this year. 6 books, so it's one every couple of months. I think that's achievable. I mean, they are quite big, and this one, I mean, the pages are really, really thin. It's like Bible paper in this book. So thin. But I have read this before. Like I say, this is about main character Elizabeth Middleton. She goes to New York State, where her father has created a settlement called Paradise, and she goes there. She's unmarried, which is in English society is quite a thing because she's an older lady. She's 27, I believe, when she goes over, in her late 20s. So, you know, she's a spinster, and it's kind of her story of kind of learning all about this settlement, all the different types of people, where they've all come from, their stories, and also about the people that first lived in the States, the Native Americans, the Kanien'kehá:ka and the Mohawk. Is the Mohawk the Kanien'kehá:ka? Anyway, I have started reading this. This series is all on Kindle Unlimited, so it's really accessible to get to read, because the paperbacks are a little bit more difficult to get hold of in this country. But this was one of the series and stories that was on the is on the recommended list when you say you want to read books like Outlander. So this is why I first touched and got into this series. But looking forward to reading more of this. And I don't know, I did put a bookmark in it the other day when I to see my progress, but I've definitely read more than that since then. So I am probably a bit further through. So it's a bit of a treat, a bit of a cheat one, this one, because I have already started it, but would really like to get this finished in January and get partway through the series again on my rereads. The next one is another reread. I'm not a big rereader in the grand scheme of things, but I'm trying to reread what I kind of feel I need to finish off series, and also trying to just, doesn't really matter if I'm rereading a book, like if I enjoyed it and I want to reread it and enjoy it, that's fine. I feel like I have this constant idea that I constantly have to be reading new stuff, reading from my physical TBR and getting my TBR down, and like I'm wasting a read if I read something I've already read. No hun, you're not. So I'm going to reread Iron Flame. Who saw that one coming? I definitely did. This is the second book in the Imperium series. Obviously, I've just finished Fourth Wing, which is the first book in the series, and I want to go straight into Iron Flame. To be fair, I have got a few weeks now until Onyx Storm, which obviously isn't a physical book that I can pick up and show you, but that is going to be on my January TBR. And I am taking a day's annual leave to read that book. I was like, I had 1 day annual leave left, and I was like, it's going to be the 21st of January, isn't it? So that I can read Onyx Storm. So, and I'm going to probably go to the midnight release. So I'm hoping I can read some, go to the midnight release, read some, come home, nap, read some more. And if I have to call in sick the next day at work, who cares? So I think what I'll do with this one is, I've got it on my Kindle. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe keep this as my kind of chapter a day to keep up my daily pages, but I don't want to go too full ham with this too soon and then have like weeks in between this and Onyx Storm. But what I also don't want to do is to read this and read it and be like on like a real strict, like, oh my God, I've got to get this done, and have like a really tough deadline to hit to finish it in time. It's going to be all about the balance, but I'm excited because rereading the first book just reminded me of so much that I'd forgotten about the world, so much that had happened to the characters. So yeah, super excited for that reread, and obviously honorary mention to Onyx Storm because that's not a physical book I can show you. And then the final book that I'm putting on my official TBR is Shrines of Gaiety by Kate Atkinson. This was on my priority TBR list for the year. I don't want to give again too much kind of like restriction with these and be really tough on these, but also don't want to forget about them and then get to like the latter part of the year and be like, oh, I said I was going to read all these books and I didn't. But I do really want to get to this because this was a book that my dad bought me. I did mention this in the last one. He had me for Secret Santa, and this is from 2022 Christmas. So I've had this book on my shelf for way too long and I want to finally get to it, and I feel like this is going to be really, really interesting. The filthy, glittering underbelly of London was concentrated in its nightclubs, and particularly the Amethyst, the gaudy jewel at the heart of Soho's nightlife. It was not the moral delinquency, the dancing, the drinking, not even the drugs that dismayed Frobisher. It was the girls. Girls were disappearing in London. At least 5 he knew about had vanished over the last few weeks. Where did they go? He suspected that they went in through the doors of the Soho clubs and never came out again. So yeah, this is really interesting. It's set in 1926. In a country still recovering from the Great War, London has become the focus for a delirious new nightlife. And I am really intrigued. I think I have read Kate Atkinson before, but nothing like this. And my dad picked this out for me, so I do really want to give this a good go and read it and be able to say to him, you know that book you got me for Secret Santa years ago? I finally read it and I really loved it. That's what I'd really like to be able to do. No pressure with this one. But like I say, I want to kind of get the ball rolling with those, but also be tactical with them a little bit as well, because one of the ones I was going to pick up, I was like, that's too similar to what else I'm kind of planning on reading. And like I said, one of the things I want to do this year is try and read more diversely through the genres that I enjoy. So that gives me a bit of historical, but not too historical. Gives me some fantasy. Oh, it's all really quite historical, because this is really, really historical. This is set in like the late 1700s. And this, I can't really date it, but this is also children's. So, you know, giving me some diversity through the genres. And I haven't read a lot of historical fiction in 2024, so I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, short and sweet TBR for me. But what I will make a point of doing is making sure I do monthly wrap-ups so that you can actually see what I do actually read come the end of the month, because that will be probably very different to this stack, or might even have more in it than this stack as well. So I'd love to hear what you've got on your TBR for this month, for January. Leave me a little comment down below with what you're planning on reading, whether you're planning on doing an Iron Flame reread before Onyx Storm is released. I'd be intrigued to hear about it if you are, or anything else that you might be reading in the month of January. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!